Rookie of the Year, an Olympic gold medalist, a 4-time scoring champion, a 7-time All-Star, an MVP of the league, Kevin Durant.
The weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
So to the question everybody wants to know, LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, it's very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach.
And a lot more significant to win the championship in Cleveland than to piggyback on Dwayne Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh.
Personally, I think 3 or 4 championships in Miami, to me, is equivalent to 1 championship in Cleveland, just because they are a starving franchise city.
With a very pedestrian free agency in 2023, we are starting to see NBA players are being more creative about how they decide where they will align for their future. With the advent of the Supermax, players are foregoing testing free agency, but just to position and maneuver themselves to where they want to be. No situation more evident than Kevin Durant facilitating a trade from the Nets after signing an extension, Dame Lillard signing an extension with his former team just to be moved to the Bucks, and lastly, James Harden signing his player option with the Sixers with the hopes to be traded to the Clippers. Many will ask if this is good for the league or not, or will this spell the end of free agency as we know it?
Curry steps back. Bang! They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
The NBA players in the NBA PA has always remained fluid with how they handle their negotiations with the league to find benefits for themselves. I think each CBA is met with some challenges, and it's upon the players to navigate it and see where the silver lining is in the situation. We have watched this happen in the late 2010s, when the CBA was constructed to discourage monetarily superstars teaming up like the Miami Heat did in the early 2010s. But it gave way to something even more creative, the Warriors. The Warriors figured out a way to not only embolden their roster of homegrown talent in Curry, Clay, and Draymond by awarding them extensions and having them on team-friendly deals well before their primes. These savvy decisions are what opened the door in 2016 to add KD to their roster, with the anticipation of the spike in the NBA revenue from the TV deal money in 2016. This was unprecedented at the time, but due to careful planning and smart decision making, they were able to navigate the limits of the CBA. This is what I believe is present with the advent of the Supermax. Players are being incentivized to stay with the team that they're drafted to, but this isn't stopping players from deciding their future, but conversely, having them do it and be a little more calculated.
The rule itself around the Supermax for this rookie extension, I don't personally like. Yeah.
With all that being said, player movement is good for the league. As we can see, in the engagement of the multiple different markets, some of the smaller variety, like the Bucks, Pacers, Kings, and big, like the Clippers and Nets, truly benefit from it. For the Bucks, it gave way to a championship in 2021 when making a crucial trade for Drew Holiday from the Pelicans in 2021. For teams like the Clippers, it has been a financial investment that still continues to provide dividends. A team that at one time were selling tickets on average around $80 a game is now a top 5 valued team in the league, with owner Steve Ballmer buying it at $2 billion, would it be, and raising it to the value of $4.65 billion in 2024 by way of attracting top 20 talent to his team. But is this constant movement of players diluting the NBA product and hurting these teams in the long run? I guess the answer to that is far more complicated than it sounds. Let's take the summer of 2019, for example. Out of the 10 most notable signings, 50% are still with the team that they signed with. Kevin Durant, and Kyrie played a grand total of 74 games together. Both traded. Kemba Walker was traded 2 years into signing his contract. Porzingis was traded to the Wizards within 2 years into his contract as well. Vucevic was moved 2 years into his contract by way of, you guessed it, a trade.
I think I'm starting to see a theme here. If we look at the guys that were still on their respective teams that they signed with, there's one glaring player that's been the ultimate return on investment. Then it trails off.
Jimmy Butler has since that signing brought Miami back from basketball obscurity into prominence again, having gone to the finals twice and the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times since his signing. If you look at Tobias, Middleton, Clay, even Kawhi, we have not seen the same ROI on the court. So when we look back on 2019, there is truly just one player that proves to be the ultimate investment for their team. This doesn't prove to affect or take away from the product or even hurt the teams. We look back on the 9 teams that were involved in those signings. All but 3 have made it to the conference finals since that time. And the remaining 3 have either a collection of picks to bolster their team further from players that they have recently moved on from, or have a headlining star or a bright future. Since that impactful free agency of 2019, I would say free agency has been less than stellar in the recent seasons. The most noteworthy signing since then has been Jalen Brunson's move to the Knicks. It does take a pretty big nosedive from there. Fred, Spencer, some will ask, will the NBA do away with free agency if this trend continues? Since the NBA made unrestricted free agency official in 1988, before then, there were only 10 teams total that won a championship, with the Celtics and Lakers taking in over half of those chips. Since then, over 14 teams in just 36 years have won with the ability to shuffle the deck at their disposal. Safe to say, free agency is not going anywhere. But is free agency as we know it over? I think the NBA got exactly what they wanted. On paper, players are not shuffling quite as often, but like in any era of basketball, the teams and the players will adjust to the changes imposed on them. So don't expect blockbuster signings like we've seen in the past, like the LeBron, the Kawhi, or even the Kevin Durant signing. But look closely on the marginal signings, like the Jalen Brunson, the Julius Randle signing, to be the notable ones in the near future, and for the uber superstars to force their hand by way of trade or picking up / taking their player options or Supermax extensions. Ultimately, Adam Silver got what he wanted. The super team era might be over, and we are now heading into the Supermax era, but free agency will still be around long after this era is over too.
Now you tell me, which team do you think will capitalize on these changes? Send your opinions in the comments. Peace.